The rain came down in sheets, turning the streets of Portland into black mirrors that reflected nothing but the blurred glow of headlights and the occasional flash of neon from distant traffic lights. Daniel Foster gripped the steering wheel of his old Ford pickup, the wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. It was past 9 and he was late picking up Lily from her after-school art class. The community center had kept the kids longer because of the storm warnings. At 34, Daniel had learned to move through life with the steady rhythm of someone who fixed things for a living. Carpenter by trade, single father by circumstance, his hands were calloused from years of shaping wood into something useful, something that lasted. His ex-wife had left 4 years ago chasing a music career in Los Angeles that never quite materialized, and she had never looked back. Daniel didn't hate her for it anymore. He had Lily 9 years old, sharp-eyed, quick to laugh, quicker to sense when someone was lying. That was enough. He slowed at the bus stop on the edge of the neighborhood, the one with the rusted metal roof and a bench that always smelled like wet cigarettes. There was a woman there alone, soaked through despite the narrow overhang. Expensive coat, dark hair plastered to her face, suitcase pulled close like a shield. She wasn't from around here. Not the way she stood straight-backed, even while shivering, the posture of someone used to being watched. Daniel's foot hovered over the accelerator. He knew how this looked, black man in a beat-up truck pulling up to a lone woman at night. He knew the stories people told themselves, but he also knew what it felt like to be left standing in the rain. He rolled the window down an inch. Rain slashed in. "You okay?" he called over the storm. She looked up. Asian features, early 30s. Eyes red-rimmed but unflinching. For a second he thought she would ignore him the way most people did when they saw a stranger who didn't match their idea of safe. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice cracked on the second word. Daniel glanced at the clock. Lily would be waiting under the awning at the center, probably drawing on the fogged windows with her finger. He couldn't just drive past. "I'm headed up Morrison," he said. "If you need a ride, I got room. No pressure." She studied him the way people study cracked sidewalks, looking for the part that might give way. Then she nodded once sharp, like she was signing a contract with herself. He got out, rain soaking his hoodie instantly, and walked around to open the passenger door. She hesitated only a second before stepping forward, pulling her suitcase. He took it without asking, lifted it into the truck bed, water streaming off the handle. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Daniel," he offered. "Elena." He closed the door after her, circled back to the driver's side. The cab smelled like sawdust and the cinnamon gum Lily always left in the cup holder. Elena sat straight, hands folded in her lap, staring out at the rain like it had personally betrayed her. The community center appeared through the windshield, yellow lights spilling from the windows. Lily burst out before he'd even parked properly, backpack bouncing, braids flying. "Daddy." She yanked the back door open and stopped dead when she saw Elena. Her eyes went wide, curious but not afraid. "Hi," Lily said. "Hi, Elena," replied a small, surprised smile tugging at her mouth. "This is Elena," Daniel said. She needed a ride out of the rain. Lily climbed in, scooting to the middle so Elena wasn't alone in the front. "It's the worst rain ever," Lily announced. "Miss Rivera said it's like the sky is crying because it's sad." Elena let out a soft breath that might have been a laugh. "Maybe it is." Lily launched into a story about how she'd drawn a dragon that breathed umbrellas instead of fire, her hands waving, voice filling every corner of the truck. Daniel caught Elena watching her in the rearview mirror, something unreadable softening in her expression. They dropped Elena at a modest apartment building in the Alberta district, newer construction, but not flashy. She reached for the door handle, then paused. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "It's just rain," Daniel replied. She looked at him, then really looked, and for a moment, the storm outside seemed to quiet. "Thank you, Daniel." He nodded. She got out, pulled her suitcase from the back, and disappeared into the building without looking back. Lily waited until the truck was moving again before she spoke. "She's pretty," she said. Daniel glanced at her in the mirror. "Yeah," he said. "She is." That night after Lily was asleep, Daniel stood at the kitchen sink washing the day's dishes. The rain had eased to a steady patter against the window. He thought about Elena's soaked coat, the way she'd held herself together like someone who'd learned early that falling apart wasn't an option. He didn't know her story, didn't need to. Some nights all you could do was offer the ride. His phone buzzed on the counter, a text from an unknown number. "This is Elena Kim. Thank you again. If you're ever in need of coffee, or someone to return the favor, I'm at the hospital on 32nd most days." He stared at the screen longer than necessary, thumb hovering. Then he typed back, "Glad you got home safe." He set the phone down, dried his hands, and turned off the kitchen light. Outside, the rain kept falling, but for the first time in a long while, the house didn't feel quite so quiet. The day's aftertaste of that rainy night lingered longer than Daniel expected. He told himself it was nothing, just a ride, just kindness returned. But when he saw the sleek black Audi pull into the cracked parking lot of the Alberta Street Weekend Market the following Saturday, his stomach did something it hadn't done in years. Elena stepped out in jeans and a simple gray sweater, hair in a low ponytail, no trace of the soaked, defeated woman from the bus stop. She looked normal. Beautiful, but normal. She carried a canvas tote and moved through the stalls like someone trying not to be noticed. Lily spotted her first. Coco Lily yelled, using the nickname she'd invented on the spot in the truck that night, because Elena was too hard to say when she was excited. She bolted between legs and crates of kale, nearly knocking over a pyramid of apples. Elena caught her with a startled laugh, steadying the fruit with one hand, while Lily hugged her waist. "Hey, little artist," Elena said, voice warm, surprised. "What are you doing here? Dad sells cutting boards on Saturdays." Lily pointed proudly at the small folding table where Daniel stood, sanding the edge of a walnut charcuterie board. He hadn't even put out the sign yet. Elena's eyes met his across the aisle. Something passed between them. Acknowledgement, maybe caution. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied. "I didn't know this was your spot." "Best light in the city," he said, nodding toward the weak winter sun breaking through the clouds. "You shopping or hiding?" A faint smile. "Both." Lily tugged Elena's hand. "Come see Dad's new bowls. They're magic." Elena let herself be dragged over. Daniel wiped sawdust from his hands and tried to act like his pulse wasn't hammering. She ran her fingers along the smooth curve of an oak bowl, testing the grain. "These are beautiful," she said quietly. "Really beautiful. They're just wood. They're not just anything." She bought 2 bowls and a small cutting board shaped like Oregon. Paid in cash, no haggling, and left a 20 in the tip jar he didn't even know he had. After that, the city seemed to shrink. Monday morning, Elena jogged past the house on her new route and found Daniel on the porch drinking coffee, waiting for Lily's school bus. She slowed to a walk. "Early shift?" he asked. "Trying to outrun insomnia," she said. He held up his mug. "Coffee's fresh." She hesitated, then climbed the 3 steps and took the mug from his hand. Their fingers brushed. Neither moved away fast enough. Lily came barreling out, backpack thumping. When she saw Elena, her whole face lit up like Christmas. "You're here?" She hugged Elena's legs again. "Are you staying for breakfast?" Elena looked at Daniel, questioning. "There's oatmeal," he said. She stayed. It became a pattern no one named. Some mornings, Elena joined them for oatmeal and Lily's wild stories. Some evenings, Daniel dropped off leftover lasagna when he knew Elena had worked late at the hospital. Once, when the power went out in her building, she showed up at his door with a bottle of wine and a tired smile. "Can I borrow your electricity?" she asked. He let her in. Lily was already in pajamas, curled on the couch, watching cartoons on the tablet. Elena sat on the floor with her sharing earbuds, watching old episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Daniel cooked spaghetti in the kitchen and pretended not to watch them. The neighbors noticed. Mrs. Alvarez from next door asked outright one afternoon while Daniel was fixing her gate. "That the rich Asian doctor you've been seeing, she's not rich," Daniel said. "Looks rich, drives rich, talks rich. She's just Elena." Mrs. Alvarez snorted. "Men are fools." At the corner store, Mr. Patel rang up Daniel's milk and eggs and said, "Pretty lady." "But careful, women like that don't stay in neighborhoods like this." Daniel didn't answer. He just paid and walked home with the words burning in his chest. He started noticing the looks when the three of them walked to the park, curious stares, quick glances away. Once an older white woman at the playground asked Elena if Lily was adopted. Elena's smile went tight. "She's Daniel's," she said simply. The woman blinked confused, then walked away. That night after Lily was asleep, Elena stood at Daniel's kitchen sink, washing dishes he'd told her to leave. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I want to." She handed him a plate to dry. Their shoulders touched. "People talk," he said quietly. "Let them. They think you're slumming it." Elena turned off the water, dried her hands, looked at him straight. "Do you think that?" "No." "Then the rest is just noise." He wanted to believe her. The first time Elena stayed for dinner and didn't leave until midnight, Lily fell asleep on the couch between them during a movie. Daniel carried her to bed, came back and found Elena staring at the family photos on the mantel. Him and Lily at the coast. Lily's school pictures one faded photo of his ex-wife holding a newborn Lily. "She looks happy there," Elena said. She was. For a while. Elena nodded. Didn't ask more. Just slipped her hand into his while the credits rolled. Later, walking her to her car, he said, "You don't have to keep coming around, you know, if it's too much." She stopped under the streetlight. Rain had started again, soft this time. "I like your oatmeal," she said. He laughed despite himself. "And I like Lily's stories," she continued. "And I like the way you look at her like she's the only thing that matters in the world." He swallowed. "And I like the way you look at me," she finished, voice barely above the rain. "Like I'm not broken. You're not." She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her shampoo and the rain on her skin. "I'm trying not to be," she whispered. He kissed her then. Slow, careful, like someone testing whether the ground would hold. She kissed him back like someone who'd forgotten how good it could feel to be held. When they pulled apart, foreheads still touching, she said, "I should go." "Yeah," he said. Neither moved. The next morning, Lily woke up and found Elena's forgotten scarf on the couch. She brought it to school for show and tell. "This belongs to my friend Coco," she announced to the class. "She's going to be my new mom someday." Daniel found out when her teacher called, laughing to tell him. He didn't correct it, but he didn't sleep that night either. Because some things once spoken aloud by a child become dangerously close to truth. And truth in a neighborhood that loved its stories could be the most dangerous thing of all. The weeks that followed were the kind that felt like borrowed time. Daniel told himself he could keep it casual. Coffee on the porch, Elena helping Lily with math homework at the kitchen table, the three of them walking to the corner store for ice cream on nights when the air felt almost like summer. Small things, safe things. But the whispers grew louder. At the lumberyard, one of the older guys clapped Daniel on the shoulder and said, "Heard you got yourself a sugar mama now." "Nice work, brother." Daniel laughed it off, but the words stuck like splinters. At Lily's school pickup, a mother he'd known for years asked with a tight smile, "Is it serious with the doctor or just convenient?" He didn't answer. Just took Lily's hand and walked home faster. Elena felt it too. Patients at the hospital who'd once been grateful suddenly asked if she was still in charge. A board member from the parent company in Seattle sent an email suggesting she might be happier in a larger market, somewhere more suited to your ambitions. She didn't tell Daniel about that one. Then Lily got sick. It started with a cough, then fever, then the kind of heat that made her little body burn like a furnace. Daniel carried her to the ER at 3 a.m, rain still falling because Portland never really stopped. The children's hospital was bright and loud and terrifying. Lily cried when they put in the IV. Daniel held her hand until his own went numb. He was in the hallway getting terrible coffee when he heard the nurses talking. "Dr. Kim's the new chief of pediatrics, right? The one from Boston." "Yeah. Heard she got run out for whistleblowing. Went after some big-shot white administrator. Girl's got balls, I'll give her that. Still, you don't bite the hand that feeds you, especially not in this field." Daniel stood frozen, cup halfway to his mouth. Whistleblower. Run out. Everything Elena hadn't told him clicked into place like joints slotting together. the way she flinched at sudden loud voices, how she never talked about Boston except in fragments, the exhaustion that went bone deep not just from work. She hadn't been hiding because she was ashamed. She'd been hiding because she was surviving. He went back to Lily's room and sat in the plastic chair until dawn, watching his daughter breathe through the oxygen mask. When the fever finally broke the next afternoon, relief hit him so hard he almost cried in front of the nurse. Elena came in during evening rounds. She looked exhausted, hair in a messy bun, white coat, wrinkled eyes shadowed. But when she saw Lily sitting up eating Jell-O, her whole face changed. "Hey, monster," she said softly, sitting on the bed. "Heard you scared your dad half to death." Lily grinned weakly. "I threw up on his shoes." Classic move. Daniel watched them talk, Elena checking vitals without making it feel clinical, Lily leaning into her like it was the most natural thing in the world. When Elena stood to leave, she touched Daniel's arm. "She's going to be okay. We'll keep her one more night just to be safe." He nodded, couldn't speak. That was the beginning of the distance. Not dramatic, not fights or accusations. Just space. Daniel took extra jobs, left before Elena arrived in the mornings, came home after Lily was asleep. When they did cross paths, conversation stayed surface level. Weather, Lily's recovery, work. Elena tried once. They were in his workshop, Lily asleep inside. Elena had brought takeout because she knew he hadn't eaten. "You're avoiding me," she said quietly. "Busy," he lied. Daniel. He kept sanding the same spot on a table leg over and over. "I heard the nurses talking," he said finally, "about Boston." Elena went very still. "It's not what you think she started." "I know what it is," he cut in. Not angry, just tired. "You stood up. You lost everything. And now you're here playing house with a broke carpenter and his kid. Makes sense you'd get tired of it eventually." The words tasted like rust in his mouth, but he couldn't stop them. Elena's voice was soft, dangerous soft. "Is that what you think this is playing?" He didn't answer. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the hurt flickering behind her eyes. "I'm not your ex-wife, Daniel." "I know." Silence stretched between them, thick as the sawdust in the air. "I'm scared," he said at last, voice rough. "Scared you'll wake up one day and realize you settled. Scared Lily will get attached and then lose you too. Scared I'm not enough." Elena reached for his hand. He stepped back. "I need time," he said. She nodded once sharp, like she'd been slapped, then walked out without another word. The next week was hell. Lily asked every day when Coco was coming back. Daniel made excuses, worked longer hours, drank too much beer alone on the porch after Lily slept. Elena threw herself into the hospital. The board was circling budget cuts, rumors of closure, whispers that maybe a controversial chief of pediatrics wasn't worth the trouble. She fought, alone. One night, Lily woke up crying from a nightmare. She left Lily sobbed into Daniel's shirt. Coco left like mommy. Daniel held her until she fell asleep again, heart cracking open. The next morning, he found an envelope slid under the door. Lily's name on the front in Elena's neat handwriting. Inside was a letter and a small origami crane. Lily read it aloud, voice wobbly. "Dear Lily, I'm sorry I haven't come to see you. Grown-ups are stupid sometimes. I want you to know that I didn't leave because of you. You are the best thing that's happened to me in a very long time. I'm still here, still fighting for the hospital, still thinking about you and your dad every day. I don't want to be someone who fills a space until something better comes along. I want to be someone who stays. But your dad needs to believe that too. Love, Coco. P.S. The crane is for luck. It worked for me once. Maybe it will work for you." Daniel read it 3 times after Lily fell back asleep. Then he sat at the kitchen table until the sun came up, staring at the crane like it held answers. He thought about every moment Elena had chosen them. Showing up with soup when Lily had the flu. Sitting through Lily's school play, even though she had a board meeting. The way she looked at him sometimes like he was more than the sum of his scars. He thought about Boston, about what it must have cost her to stand up when everyone else stayed silent. And he thought about his own fear, how it had made him push away the one person who'd never once made him feel small. By the time Lily woke up for school, Daniel had made a decision. He wasn't going to let fear write the ending to this story, not this time. The next morning, Lily's fever spiked again. Daniel found her burning up in bed, whimpering too weak to even cry properly. Panic clawed at his throat as he scooped her up, blanket and all, and carried her to the truck. The rain had stopped, but the streets were slick, the sky the color of old bruises. He called Elena from the hospital parking lot, voice cracking. "She's worse," he said. "I don't know what to do." "I'm on my way," Elena replied, already moving. She arrived in under 10 minutes, white coat thrown over scrubs, hair still wet from a shower she hadn't finished. She didn't ask permission, just took charge. Blood work, fluids, antibiotics adjusted. Elena stayed in the room the entire time, one hand on Lily's forehead, the other texting orders to nurses with the other. When the fever finally broke near dawn, Elena's shoulders sagged with exhaustion, but she didn't leave. Daniel watched her from the doorway, Lily sleeping between them. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, had only thought about the letter, the crane on Lily's nightstand, the way Elena had looked when he pushed her away. When the morning shift came on, Elena stepped into the hallway to update the chart. Daniel followed. "I was wrong," he said, without preamble. She turned eyes wary. "I was scared," he continued. "Scared of looking like a fool again. Scared of Lily getting hurt. Scared that someone like you couldn't possibly want someone like me for real." Elena's face softened, but she didn't interrupt. "I thought if I pushed first it would hurt less when you left. But you didn't leave. You showed up, again and again." He took a breath. "I don't want to be the man who lets fear make his choices anymore." Elena's eyes filled. "I'm sorry," he said, "for making you feel like you had to prove something. You never did." She stepped closer. "I was scared too," she whispered. "Scared that if I let myself love you both, I'd lose everything all over again. But losing you by choice, that's worse." Daniel reached for her hand. This time she let him take it. "I love you," he said. The words came out steady, like they'd been waiting years to be spoken. "Not because you saved Lily, not because you're a doctor or beautiful or any of that. I love you because you stayed, even when I made it hard." Elena's breath hitched. "I love you too," she said. "And I love Lily. And I'm terrified, but I'm done running." He pulled her into his arms right there in the hallway in front of nurses and orderlies and patients in wheelchairs. Some stared, some smiled. None of it mattered. She cried against his chest, quiet, fierce tears that had been locked up for too long. "I thought you didn't want me," she murmured. "I was an idiot." She laughed through the tears. "Yes, you were." They stood like that until a nurse cleared her throat awkwardly and asked if they needed the family room. Daniel kissed Elena's forehead. "Come home with us," he said. "When Lily's discharged. Come home." She nodded. "Okay." Lily woke up an hour later to find them both sitting on her bed, holding hands across her blanket. "Are you fighting?" she asked sleepily. "No, baby," Daniel said. "Are you in love?" Elena and Daniel looked at each other. "Yeah," Daniel said. "We are." Lily considered this with 9-year-old seriousness. "Good," she said, "because Coco makes the best hot chocolate, and she doesn't leave." Elena leaned over and kissed Lily's forehead. "I'm not going anywhere," she promised. The whispers didn't stop. If anything, they got louder. At the grocery store, old men muttered about that doctor lady moving in with the carpenter. At the hospital, some board members raised eyebrows when Elena requested family leave to help with Lily's recovery. One particularly bold resident asked if she was concerned about her professional image. Elena smiled the way great white sharks smile. "I'm concerned," she said, "that this hospital remembers who keeps it running." The resident never asked again. Daniel's sister called from Seattle. "You sure about this?" she asked. "She's different world." "She's my world," Daniel said. His sister was quiet for a long moment. "Then I guess I'll meet her at Christmas." Lily got discharged on a Friday. Daniel carried her to the truck while Elena held the door. The air was cold, but the sky was clear for once sharp winter blue, the kind that made everything feel possible. When they pulled into the driveway, Lily gasped. Elena had strung Christmas lights along the porch while they were gone. Not many, just enough to make the little house glow like it was waiting for them. "Welcome home," Elena said softly. Lily reached for her hand. "Are you staying forever?" she asked. Elena looked at Daniel. "I'm staying as long as you'll have me," she said. Daniel set Lily down gently and pulled Elena close. "Then you're staying forever," he said. That night, after Lily fell asleep, clutching her origami crane, Daniel and Elena sat on the couch with mugs of tea that had gone cold. "I have to go back to work Monday," Elena said. "The hospitals still might close. There's a board vote in 2 weeks. We'll fight it together," Daniel said. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "People will keep talking. Let them. They'll say I'm using you, or you're using me. They can say whatever they want," he said, "long as they say it from a distance." She laughed quietly. "I love you, Daniel Foster. I love you, Elena Kim." Outside, the first snow of the season started to fall soft, quiet, covering the neighborhood in a hush. Inside, the house felt different, full, not perfect, not without scars, but whole. And for the first time in years, Daniel didn't lie awake listening for footsteps leaving. He listened for breathing beside him, and it was there. 2 months later, the little house on Morrison Street looked different. There were new curtains in the kitchen, soft blue ones Elena had picked out because they matched Lily's eyes, a second toothbrush in the bathroom cup, a row of medical journals on the shelf next to Daniel's woodworking magazines. Elena's coats hanging beside his work jackets, her heels lined up next to his boots by the door. She had moved in quietly one weekend when Lily was at a sleepover. No big announcement, just boxes and takeout pizza, and Lily coming home to find Elena's coffee maker on the counter like it had always been there. "Does this mean you're my mom now?" Lily had asked, standing in the doorway with her overnight bag. Elena knelt down. "It means I'm staying, if that's okay with you." Lily had thrown her arms around her neck so hard they both fell over, laughing. The hospital didn't close. Elena fought for it the way she fought for everything smart, relentless, unafraid to make enemies. She brought in new grants, renegotiated contracts, stood in front of the board, and told them exactly what would happen if they let the only pediatric clinic serving North Portland shut its doors. They listened, because she wasn't the same woman who'd arrived broken from Boston anymore. She was sharper now, stronger, loved. Daniel's workshop grew too. What started as weekend orders became a real business. Neighbors commissioned tables. Then restaurants wanted custom bars. He hired Luis from down the street to help with finishing. Put up a sign, Foster Woodworks, made to last. Elena came home one evening to find him in the garage sanding a crib. For who, she asked, leaning in the doorway. He looked up, saw the way she was touching her stomach without realizing it. "For whoever comes next," he said quietly. She cried then. Happy tears, the kind that didn't need hiding. Lily turned 10 in the spring. They had a party in the backyard, string lights, barbecue, too much cake. Mrs. Alvarez brought tamales. Mr. Patel brought samosas. Half the neighborhood showed up, curious or kind or both. Lily stood on a chair and tapped her plastic cup with a spoon. "I want to make a speech," she announced. Everyone quieted. "My dad makes beautiful things out of wood. My mom saves kids' lives every day, and they both love me even when I'm bad at math." Laughter rippled through the yard. "They taught me that family isn't about who you look like or where you come from. It's about who shows up, who stays." She looked at Daniel and Elena. "Thank you for staying." Daniel's eyes were wet. Elena didn't even try to hide her tears. Later, when the guests had gone and Lily was asleep, sugar crashing on the couch, Daniel and Elena sat on the porch steps. The air smelled like cut grass and distant rain. "Remember that night?" he asked. "Which one?" "The night I picked you up at the bus stop. You looked like you were carrying the whole world in that suitcase." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I was. And now I carry groceries and Lily's backpack and sometimes your sawdust in my hair." He laughed softly. I used to think love was something you found when everything was perfect, she said. Turns out it's something you build, one ordinary day at a time. He took her hand. Think we're doing okay. She looked at the house lights glowing warm behind the windows, Lily's bike leaning against the railing, the faint sound of a little girl breathing steady in sleep. We're doing better than okay, she said. Years later, when people asked how they met, Elena would smile and say, he gave me a ride in the rain. Daniel would add, she never got out. And Lily, taller now, braids traded for curls, still sharp-eyed and quick to laugh, would roll her eyes and say, they're so gross. But she'd say it while sitting between them on the couch, head on Elena's shoulder, feet in Daniel's lap. Because some things don't need explaining. Some things just need staying. The rain came again that fall, the way it always did in Portland. Daniel stood at the kitchen window watching it fall, Elena's arms around his waist from behind her, chin on his shoulder. Think we should go pick someone up? He asked. She smiled against his neck. I think we're good, she said. We've got everyone we need right here. Outside, the rain washed the streets clean. Inside, the house was full of the sound of breathing. 3 sets. Steady. Together. And for the rest of their lives, whenever the rain came, they didn't hide from it. They danced in it. Because after the storm, someone had stayed. And that made all the difference.